Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rudi and thank you so much for being here. I have a few video ideas planned out for this month, but something that I've just had my eyes on, my thoughts on, has recently been like trying to have the most fresh skin and like makeup finish while looking put together but using very minimal product. Does that make sense? I just feel like sometimes I get into this rhythm of overusing all of my products, and then by the end of my look, I feel very done up. I feel like I have on too much coverage, too much powder. I don't like the way anything looks in particular. I thought it would be fun to try and get a really minimalistic look on my face, but something that I feel like looks like me and still looks like you have a fresh face of makeup on. So essentially doing the most with the least is this video today. So if you're someone like me who prefers like a lighter makeup look and is curious to see how light we can go for the summer and still have a really nice finish to the skin, keep on watching. As I mentioned, my name is Rudi. We talk about skincare, makeup, fashion, we do hauls. I think my next video is probably gonna either be my favorites and flops for the month, but also doing my Newly haul for my trip to the south of France, which I'm getting a ton of inspiration because everyone's in the south of France right now. And by everyone, I mean celebrities, of which I am not. But I am getting a lot of inspiration for outfits. So if you are interested in that, I would love it if you would subscribe, and let's get into it. Usually at this point, I have like all my items laid out of how I want to go about this look, but I kind of just want to like play as we go type of thing. So I just did my skincare not too long ago, but before we get into primers or anything like that, I want to do my eyebrows. I have had a really specific way of doing a really minimalist eyebrow routine recently, and it is with these two products. So my typical eyebrow routine is at the end of my makeup, and I usually use something like the Kosas Airbrow and like one of their pencils, some combination of two really like heavy color gels. And I like to add thickness to my eyebrows, and it adds a little bit of color and fills in some sparse areas. And I never really understood how people were able to use like the brow lamination gel, like for example from Patrick Ta. This one's kind of super old actually, but I never felt like I was using it properly because it was just like creating little white balls in my eyebrows. They weren't sitting right until I started using this one from Rem Beauty, shockingly. This is their brow gel. I think it's called like Space something, I don't know. But the reason that I like this one for days like today is because it's clear and you kind of load up the product on this side, and then there is a little sort of bristly side on the back. So all I'm gonna do before I put on any makeup or color cosmetics or anything is load up these brows with a little bit of this gel, and then I just kind of let it sit for a minute to get a little, not goopy, but like, you know, a little tacky before I go and brush them into place. And I never understood how people could do their eyebrows before the rest of their makeup, but now that I'm doing it, I'm like, oh, it's actually not that hard. I always thought if I did my eyebrows before my makeup that I would get like makeup all over my eyebrows, but it's really not that difficult. And while these are kind of still tacky, I'm gonna brush them into place and make sure they are exactly where I want them. And it gives your brows that look of being finished without adding any color to them. Do you guys have one brow that's better than the other? Because I do. This brow is always looking good, always. And this brow never looks good. It's got a weird shape, the hair grows differently. My tail has been plucked off so many times on that side that the tail just won't grow back. It grows back in a funky shape, which makes me go ahead and be plucking it off over and over again. And then you can always take that other side and just kind of like flatten them out a little bit. And it's okay even if they're not perfect or there are sparse areas, because we will fill in once this has dried down a little bit. So I'm basically just gonna let these suckers dry completely, and then I'll come back and we'll fill in the sparse areas with a pencil very lightly. And I've also noticed that doing my eyebrows before the rest of my makeup really makes sure I'm not overdoing it, because I have no other makeup on, so I'm not gonna go too crazy with the brow pencil. I'm talking way too much about the brows. Woo! All right, so this one feels mostly dry, and what I'm gonna do is just go underneath the brow and make a little line, like a super light line. This is with the Brow Stylist Definer from L'Oreal. It's very inexpensive and very good. And that just kind of helps like create that shape, and then I will flick upwards to get a little bit of that brow-like texture in any places that I have sparseness. You gotta be a little bit careful with these, because now that they're so in place, it's hard to spoolie through them. You still can, but you have to kind of like be more careful about it. And that is boom, done. I still think they look a little bit intense with no makeup on, because like obviously we filled them in, but once we have the rest of our makeup on, it will look very natural and kind of like, oh yeah, she's just got good brows. That's the hope, at least. So now that our brows are on, let's talk about some of what this coverage is gonna look like. I wanna have nice, dewy skin. My skin feels pretty hydrated right now because I just finished my skincare. But if I didn't think it felt super hydrated, I would probably go in with a primer. I might still do that. Well, let's go in with the Neutrogena Radiant Primer Serum. This is something I just talked about in my Neutrogena video. I did a full face of Neutrogena makeup. And this is just gonna add the slightest bit of hydration to my face, because I think I'm going to skip a foundation or a skin tint today and just use concealer in specific areas of my face. So I want to make sure that that product feels like it can blend around the face without being dry. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have like a patch of concealer. I want it to blend really nicely into the skin. And the key to having a nice makeup day is having a nice hydrated base. So in the spirit of having minimal coverage, I want to use a concealer that's going to do multiple things for me. So I want to use a concealer that's going to be really lightweight, but also matches my skin tone and still packs a punch with a little bit of coverage. And the thing that I think makes sense in this scenario are the Make Beauty Skin Mimetic Concealers. These are beautiful. I have two shades. I have 3 Light C and 4 Light W. And I think 4 Light W is going to be my best guess for my face, and then I'll use a little bit of 3 Light C under my eyes just to brighten that area. I really want to make sure that this is nice and radiant, so I'm going to use a sponge, which I need to go get wet, so I'll be right back. I just had to clean that twice because I accidentally dropped it in a giant pile of dust. That is so disgusting. Don't act like that's never happened to you. Okay, so let's start with the face before we touch the under eyes, because I really want to do the most with the least today. So where I tend to get redness is around my cheeks here, and then on my chin. Also just around my mouth generally. But my skin itself looks pretty good. So I'm just going to start by just taking it to these 3 areas that I know I would like some coverage on, and seeing where we can get with just that amount. It's always easier to add, it's harder to take away. And I do find that when you're using concealer as your base, in whatever way that means to you, you want to find a shade that matches your skin tone rather than having your under eye concealer shade as your all over, because it is going to stand out and make you look white or pale or whatever it is that you tend to do. So my next area is right here on my cheek, and I'm just lightly applying this product, and this product in particular I think is perfect for this because it is basically the consistency of water. Like, look at that. It blends in so well and it just sinks into the skin like a serum. It's absolutely gorgeous and great for this kind of look. So same over here, just a little on the cheek. I don't have quite as much redness on this side. And I'm just gonna take what's left over and go over my nose. I notice a person who does this so well is Katie Jane Hughes. She is so good at pinpointing how much product to use and where. If you ever watch her Instagrams, and right now I'm just kind of going around where I feel like I need a little bit more. On her Instagram stories, she is so good at just being like adding a touch here, adding a touch there, especially when it comes to like bronzer and blush and coverage. She uses like such a light touch to everything, and it just looks insanely fresh. So if I feel like I need a little bit more, I can always go back in, which is a lot easier than going in with a full face of makeup and then saying I feel like I have too much on. I do have a little bit of redness and breakouts along my forehead, so I'm just gonna lightly like kind of dab on a few areas here and just blend that out and pull that up the forehead a little bit. But your forehead especially needs much less coverage than other areas of your face because it's just skin and skull. There's no muscle really, I mean there is muscle between your forehead and your skull, but it's very thin right there. So it doesn't really have as much to soak into. It's just such a flat surface. So I never use as much coverage on my forehead anyways. And to keep that really natural look, especially in the summer, your forehead is usually the most bronzed area of your face. Like you can see how much darker this area is than the rest of my face. So I don't want to cover that with product and then go in with bronzer and re-bronze that area, which I'm gonna do that. But you know, that's something that I try and keep in mind where I'm like, oh, I'm literally covering that forehead area and then re-brightening it with bronzer when I could probably just avoid it in general. So I'm just gonna go around the face and make sure this is all really blended, but it looks very nice. I love it. I think it looks very skin-like and I don't have on hardly anything. So I'm gonna use the lighter shade here and go under my eyes because I do wanna have a bit of brightening under the eye. And I'm just gonna lightly start here, like such a small amount, and blend towards the crook of my eye and up, like to where your eyebrow touches, and then drag this one down here. And I'll probably add more to this because I do wanna make sure my under eyes are looking not so tired, but it's easier again to add than it is to take away if you're going for a super lightweight look. I feel like I can tell the difference between those two, and this area, it just looks more blended on this side of my face. So I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. And I do think if you were wanting to go for a more lightweight look, but you wanted maybe a more mattified finish, there's definitely a way to do that as well. And that would also be using a brush instead of a sponge. Will help with that more satin to matte finish on the skin, but it will be harder to get that really like soft look because you're gonna be applying more product. Your sponge soaks up some of that product, which helps automatically. So you just wanna be a little bit careful about that. And then I'm gonna take whatever's left over and just tap that on my eyelids. I think that looks really fresh and nice. I love these concealers. I really couldn't recommend them enough. I think having one in each shade is really a great way to practice doing minimalistic looks and seeing what you think about that. This part of my cheek is just always so freaking red. So I say try these out. They're amazing. And I think if you like what I like typically, you will really enjoy those. I also have a full face of Make Beauty if you wanted to learn more about that brand. In wanting to continue like the lightweight cream look that I have going on, we're gonna do bronzer and blush, and then I think I might powder a little bit under my eyes just to help set a little bit of that concealer. But the first thing that came to my mind in terms of bronzer and having like a really lightweight glowy bronzer look was the Merit Bronze Balm. And this is in the shade Cyan. And as you can see, I mean, this is like so lightweight, so pretty, and just very natural looking. There are a lot of ways to use these kind of products. You can apply them directly to the skin, you can apply them to your hand and then apply. But the way that I'm gonna do it today is by taking a brush and just dabbing onto the top of this bronzer. Again, I don't wanna do too much here because we're trying to be really minimal and just look like naturally perfect in a sense. So I'm just gonna go over the areas that maybe we've lost a little bit of our bronze because of that concealer, but you really shouldn't need too much because hopefully some of that stuck from not covering so much of our skin. So I'm just gonna go around my jawline and then a little bit on the cheekbone and the forehead as well as the nose. And again, this is one of those products where like you really can't go overboard with it because it's so lightweight and so creamy and dewy. Like even if I went and just put it straight on my face like this, that is not gonna, look how easily this blends out, you know? It's gonna blend into a really seamless, beautiful finish. It works well with other products. It works well with other brands' products. You don't have to use this with the Merit Balm, like the Merit Foundation Concealer Balm. And I also find that adding a little extra on your nose really makes the look even more naturally sun-kissed. So I think it's okay to go a little heavier with the bronzer to still look very natural, especially if it's a cream balm bronzer like this one or the Makeup by Mario bronzing balm. Both are so lightweight and easy, you really can't overdo it. Also, it takes no time to get those on because they are so blendable. So that is the finish of the bronzer there. And to me, looking in the mirror, it just looks like I have a little bit of a sun-kissed moment going on my forehead, especially on my nose, and I really like to bring that out. And I like to do the same with my blush. And currently, I have been obsessing over yet another Neutrogena product. And this is their Hydro Boost Multi-Use Stick. And it is in the shade Temptation. It is this gorgeous terracotta, like, coral shade, and it is just perfect on my skin tone. I have not used this on my lips. I don't love multi-stick products on my lips. I find they end up being a little more mattifying than I'm typically going for, but it is gorgeous on the face. So same with this one, I'm going to apply it onto a brush and then apply it onto my face because it gives you a little bit more, you know, it gives you a little bit more control. But with blush as well, because this one is glowy, I'm gonna kind of go heavy-handed over the nose and cheeks to give a really sun-kissed look. But I wanna build this up slowly because I don't wanna look like I have too much makeup on, and I want you to wonder, is she just flawlessly perfect? And was she in the sun today? Like, how are her cheeks so perfect? And part of that, especially if you're looking for like the sun-kissed look, is pulling the product up under your eye slightly. So I'm using an angled brush like this to get the product down the apples of my cheeks, but not too far, and also a little bit up under the eye, just to give that like really cute, youthful sun-kissed look. And I am a person who likes to go over the top with blush, even if I'm doing an everyday look. So if that's not you, that's okay. You can certainly stop when you think it's not enough, because it's usually more than enough. If I'm being honest, like, I'm just a person who freaking loves blush, so I just keep going. And I usually add more at the end. So I'm gonna stop here and just take a good second to examine how this looks up close from far away. I definitely want that look of super blended, creamy, natural skin. And I definitely feel like I'm getting that. A lot of the times when we cover up our skin with our concealers and our powders or whatever, we end up putting a color cosmetic on top of our skin. So like we're putting red on our cheeks, even though we just covered our red. So we don't always have to do it when you're going to put a red product on it anyways. So it's really just about like, how many layers can I get on my skin to be just one? Am I making sense? I want the least amount of layers on my skin, and I want it to look the most natural. And I also think because these products are all naturally glowy, as you can see, I could easily skip highlighter because again, that's adding yet another layer to our skin. So for now, I'm gonna skip a pinpointed highlighter, and what I'm gonna do is set a little bit of my under eye area just slightly with a super small brush because I wanna help make sure that I'm not creasing, and it just helps with the perfected look on the skin. I'm literally using a tiny little eyeshadow blender brush because I think it just helps to diffuse that without getting really far under the eye. And I'm obsessing over the Laura Mercier loose translucent in the shade Rose. It's like this lightweight pink shade, and it just does such a good job of like mattifying and perfecting that under eye area without it looking too much. So like I already feel like there's a huge difference, and it just looks slightly more perfected, but you still have that glow in the areas where you want it, like right here. I'm not touching that area. I'm not touching the forehead. I'm just gonna put this under the eyes and a little on the chin. I'm not a person who likes a lot of shine on my chin because I have a lot of blackheads on my chin. I don't wanna draw attention to that area. And I tend to lose coverage around my chin the fastest. So I'm just gonna fill this in lightly with a super small brush. Oh, it does such a good job. It does such a good job. Highly, highly recommend, if you haven't tried the rose shade, that you pick that one up because it is really, really pretty and so natural. I still have a lot of that glow. I want my skin to look like a natural skin-like finish, and your skin is not always naturally glowing. It's a little bit matte, it's a little satin. I'm trying to get that sort of look. So I'm trying to think what I want to do next, if it's lips or if it's eyes. Let's throw on some mascara. I'm not going to be doing any eyeshadow because I want things to be really, really minimalistic. But I'm thinking I'm going to apply like a very fluffy sort of lash. I'm gonna curl my lashes and then go in with the Wonder Beauty Mile High Club. I love this mascara. It's so good, fluffy. It's a little bit dry, which I like. And just put a very, very light coat on each of my eyes, and then I'll be right back. Makes such a difference to have your lashes on because then you have a more like full view of the look itself, and I'm feeling like I could add more blush. Okay, next let's do a little lip action, and then we're gonna finish off with, you guessed it, fake freckles. Okay, so for my lips, recently, to get this like super natural look, I've been loving like a little outline moment, like a stain outline, and then like just a clear gloss on top. But I'm having trouble finding the right liner shades recently because I really want like a stain, but I'm having a little bit of issues finding the right color stain. So like right now I'm using this stain from, I found it on Amazon. It's like this giant marker, and it doesn't really, see what I mean? It's not really giving what I need it to give because my lips are obviously darker than that. So I don't know. I want something like this that has more color to it that I don't have to peel off. Because like I love the peel off ones from Saatchi Beauty, but I'm tired of having to wait and peel it off. It's like it's very annoying to do that, but it might just be what we have to do. I've also been using my Rare Beauty lip oils as liners that are staining. However, they're not very precise at all because it's a huge doe foot applicator. So I'm in the market. I do have a few stains. Like I have this new stain that I just picked up from Benefit. It's the Love Tint. And I was thinking about trying this as a lip stain, but I think it might be a little bit too red for the moment. Yeah, it's too red. I might try one of my other ones. But I bought this because I want to use it in my my freckle pen shoot. So keep an eye out. I'll probably do a review or talk about that soon, but maybe let's try one of the other stains I have. I think maybe Classic Benetint? I don't know, it's just too lightweight. I'm stressed. Let's just try it and see what happens. Okay, I think I did it. I'm gonna let this sort of dry for a second, and then we'll put on a clear gloss and see what we think. It's just one of those things where you have to be really precise about that and like make sure that you're putting it in the right area on your lip, because if you mess up, then you have stain somewhere on your lip that you didn't want, type of thing. I feel like we're pretty much dry. I just did a light stain of the Classic Benetint, and I'm going to use the Haus Labs lip oil. It's the clear shade. It's in neutral, and these are not pH adjusting. Some of them are, but the clear one is not. So I'm just gonna put that over top because it has a really nice glossy finish. You can never have too much gloss, just remember that. I think that looks really pretty. It doesn't look like I have on lipstick. It just looks like my lips have a little bit of this nice pinky shade to them because of the liner. It mixed with the liner a little bit, the gloss, but looks super natural and very pretty. I will say I feel like I'm maybe missing a little bit of like a pinkness to my cheeks. And a color that I have been really loving and I haven't talked about with you guys much is actually from Kylie Cosmetics. And it is the Lip and Cheek Glow Bomb. I think that's Just absolutely so pretty. I haven't worn it in a while, so I need to get back into it. But it's got this really nice neutral pink undertone to it, and it is in the shade Feelings Neutral. So I'm just gonna take the tiniest bit of this because I feel like I'm just missing a little bit of a pinky hue here. I just needed a little bit of blush, a little bit more blush, if you would believe it. I just love blush. I can't help it. I don't know what to tell y'all. Pretty, pretty, pretty. I have one more shade in that one too, and it's super duper pink, and this one is in Pink Me Up. I don't wear it quite as much because I don't love a super bubblegummy pink on me, but those are a really nice formula if you've never tried them. If you are feeling like you want to add a bit of highlighter to this type of look, absolutely go for it. But what I'm gonna do is take, this is a dual-ended pencil from Charlotte Tilbury. One side is a metallic liner and one side is a matte black liner. And this side is really, really good for getting a really pinpointed highlighter in the waterline and in the eyes. So I'm just gonna do like the slightest little sort of outline of my almond shape of my eye, and then a little bit into the waterline, just to make my eyes pop even more. You can even take a little bit under your brow bone and just use your finger, just tap that out a little bit. You could do this with any of your highlighters. It's just nice to have a small one like this that gets really close to your eye. And I did not put on any mascara on my lower lashes because I wanted it to look super fluttery and natural. You could also just use like a plain, this one is the Fake Awake from Tarte. You could use something like that. That just kind of opens up your eyes a little bit. Just slightly opens up the eye. That's also an optional step. You definitely don't have to do that. But now I'm just making excuses to do more things. Okay, last but not least, I'm going to apply a ton of freckles to my face. My freckle pen is downstairs, so I have to go grab that. But I am coming out with a freckle pen with Buble in July. I'm gonna do a whole launch video about it, but if you're new here, you may not have heard about my collaboration with Buble coming out with a freckle pen this summer. I'm so excited about it. I'm gonna do a bunch of videos on it, but one in particular will be sort of tutorials on how I do my freckles, how I use this product, and the placement of my freckles as well. So don't worry, that is definitely coming. I promise you it will be the best freckle pen you've ever used. I'm so excited. I'm very nervous about how it's gonna go. I hope that you'll love it and you'll give it a chance. But anyways, I'm gonna go get that, put it on, and then we will talk about the finished look. She's back and she is freckled. And I'm telling you, it makes the biggest difference. Even if you don't think you're a fake freckle person, I say try it this summer especially and just see how much of a difference it makes to your everyday feel and vibe. It's so fun and playful, and I'm addicted to it. You already know this. And honestly, with how little makeup I put on, I feel just as good or as done up as I do when I have on foundation, the whole 9 yards. Like, I mean, let's be honest, I really just kind of skipped doing foundation, just did concealer, but I went lighter with a lot of the things that I typically do here, even my brows, and I feel just as pretty. So this is something I think I'm gonna try and implement more this summer, just doing less makeup. Not doing less makeup, but just, you know, making it look even more natural than possible. And I think personally, everyone feels different about themselves depending on how much makeup they wear and what they enjoy. And I'm a person who feels prettier when I have makeup on, but it's very lightweight and dewy and glowy and natural. So this is probably my vibe for the entire summer. I'm so obsessed with this freaking blush stick. Let me know if you have any tips for super natural makeup. Another thing you could do to really get this look to be super natural is to use like a finishing spray. I don't feel like I personally need that right now because it's a little humid in here and I feel like my skin's kind of soaking everything up. But if you're feeling powdery or a little cakey or anything like that, you can always use a hydrating mist to help set some of that into place. But if you have any tips for super light makeup, or you had questions on this look or some of the products that I used, feel free to leave a comment down below. I answer all of my comments, and I will see you guys in the next one really soon. Bye.